Hey, everybody.
Hey everybody, welcome to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with
Oberon.
and me, Banshee.
And
And
this
welcome to
is your
your
Weird
Weird
Week.
Week. Also our Weird Week. I'm always going to say that.
It's your Weird World Weekly.
It's our Weird World Weekly, basically.
And it's our brief joint reading to kind of summarize or look at possible world or large picture kind of things going on and what we feel is behind that and some of the other ideas.
And as this production morphs and evolves, we've decided now that at the beginning of each show, we're going to recap our cards from last week and what we think those cards were leaning towards that week. We definitely see something was up with the cards we pulled and some of the things that happened in our last weird
So
week.
start us off.
All right, we pulled our thoughts together and here we go. So for the week of February 19 to 25th, what we saw was the world upright indicated that world events were the focus. Something reached completion. Agreements maybe between countries and world leaders? Well, Putin met with the Chinese ambassador, which might bring them more of what they're looking for, help and aid from China. And Biden met with Zelensky and Polish government officials in a sort of surprise, unplanned trip to show Ukraine support during their anniversary.
I think it was pretty clear that we both thought that this more or less implied a meeting of some sort between world powers.
And then card 2, and to even kind of in a way reinforce that, the Hermit upright is here. And I remember asking if there was any kind of leadership meetings. I didn't put this down here, but we were debating whether people were going to get together and meet. We mentioned that on the live show, and we didn't know of anything happening.
No, we didn't, honestly.
So what I think the Hermit really indicated was someone heads out on a solitary retreat or journey. Some information is revealed. It was Biden's secret trip to Ukraine that really fits this card. Took a lot of people by surprise, and he reinforced his support for Ukraine right before upstaging Putin's speech, his big speech that he had planned for in Russia.
So the hermit is often seen as somebody holding a light to the darkness.
Wow, yeah. And then card 3 was the Four of Cups reversed, and the opportunities were here to get things moving in a positive direction, or, that there's some opportunities coming. And there maybe needed to be some strategic planning, though, on how to deal, how to make these opportunities happen or work. This could also be about the things that Biden discussed with Zelensky and or Poland, our allies Poland. And so, they might be trying to ferret out just where to go next, how this war is evolving, and how everybody will work together. And it also ties into Putin just having their discussions with China, because guess what? China proposed a peace plan, which in and of itself is an opportunity, whether it's a good one or not.
The beauty of the Tarot of Oppositions is that when you delve into it, you are encouraged to look for a liminal area between those two opposite upright interpretations. And so I sort of feel like this shows sometimes you have to take the choice you have to take.
The Knight of Swords was reversed in card 4, and we felt this move was Biden's surprise trip, which upstaged Putin. It could bring things further apart. It could pull the superpowers further apart, and someone may act rashly or recklessly, like Putin ditching the nuclear arms agreement, or the fact that the U.S. didn't bank on the fact that, hey, we're going to do this surprise move. Putin will be okay with it. No, he, of course, had to counter it with something.
Right, and in retrospect, I do see that reverse knight there being more about Putin's reaction and possibly being negative consequences.
And finally, our last card, which we both had a little bit of trepidation about, but we couldn't figure out why. It's the Pope upright, the Hierophant upright. And, when we stopped and we thought about it, we thought maybe there were no winners that week. Ultimately, people were still holding fast to their beliefs, their dogmas, and following previous patterns of ways of dealing with each other.
I can't speak any clearer than that about it. I think there's a long line of history when hundreds of years ago when there was more than one pope and each said, no, I'm the real pope. No, I'm the real pope. And that it does express this idea of dogmas and which side are you going to be on and all of that.
Of course, we throw out some other ideas of current events and what might transpire, especially that East Palestine, Ohio, chemical spill.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when we looked this over, we really thought this really tied into the world events. When you look at these cards, though, you can see a lot of corollary things happened in East Palestine, Ohio, like leaders getting together there, trying to, act like they were in control. The air quality is fine, drink the water. Yeah, right. Maybe standards need to be adhered to or recreated again because we know some train standards have been, eased that maybe shouldn't have. So, you be the judge, but we think that's where last Weird Week went. Now,
we would love your feedback, but we're on to next week.
On to the next. All right, so this is what's happening in this week ahead, starting February 26th through I think it's March 3rd or 4th.
Yes.
Okay.
4th.
All right. Thank you. And we're starting with, not this deck, we're starting with the Twin Tarot Oracle deck to find out what the major focus or tone will be for this weird week.
And actually, that's the 5th because Monday is March 6th. I happen to know that because I have an appointment.
I see. So. Well, Mr. O is on target. Me, I'd have to pull up my calendar.
Now, in formulating this, we were inspired by my previous rendition of your Weird Week, but we did tweak it a little bit, bringing in a couple cards that she has added to the brew. The one deck, the Tarot of Oppositions, seems to be our joint deck, so we both shuffle that, but otherwise, we're each in control of the decks for those positions we're reading about.
Oh, boy! And it is the negative version. It is like the reversed version of the Death card, which in this deck is called Transformation. And as you can see there, there's not a lot of signs of rebirth going on there. There's stagnation. Maybe people are holding their lines if this is a world issue. Maybe people are not willing to budge. They're not willing to make the necessary changes for us to, transform a situation. So I'm going to hold out whether it's a world event or not yet till I see more cards.
There's definitely strong inertia feelings here, and that's very typical for Death Reverse, that it does speak to the idea of larger than life forces, i.e. political forces, are inert, are unable to move, are stagnant, possibly corrupt even. Like Banshee says, I think we should let another card or two slide in before we understand
Start speculating.
that. Yes.
All right.
So then from the Secrets Tarot, we're going to take a look and try to see what we may be able to find out, what we'll see, the mysteries or secrets that can be uncovered, or hopefully will be.
Maybe this will help us figure what this is all about. Let's take a look. Yes, Mr. O. I love the Secrets Tarot for this one. That's so appropriate.
Yeah, it's a great deck. I really like it. For years, a previous edition of the Secret Tarot was my standard workhorse reading deck. I just did lots of readings with that deck. So, what will we find out or see?
Wow.
And it's the upright Ace of Pentacles. I can only think that we may see that there is something beginning that is going to probably involve a lot of material growth, but also the idea of maybe some security, material or otherwise.
Isn't money behind everything?
Ain't that the truth?
It's interesting that out of, stagnation and, what looks and appears to be a lack of growth, we follow it with a growth card. So I wonder here too if what we will find out may have worldwide implications, because of Earth, just because it's the element of Earth. So I'm not totally bought on that.
That does tie it into, well, no, it doesn't really.
So I wonder if I wonder if there's a beginning of some problems. There's usually a positive beginning, but considering that death is in this picture, I can't help but wonder if this is the beginning of some financial difficulties.
Just from an overview of the American political thing, and of course it's important to the whole world, one could say that, there's always this talk about a grand bargain where, our politicians tend to want to put a lot of things on the chopping block for, relooking at the funding level because of some
Well, you
serious
bring up
need
some
to
thoughts.
take care of other things.
Because perhaps this is about the fact that, maybe this is about a situation where people, we will find out that, there's stagnation, there's stagnant growth, inflation is still high, for example, in the US, and people want relief. We may find out that maybe there'll be some strikes, maybe there'll be some advocacy for, um, getting the financial markets and everything and getting consumer, the whole issue with consumer prices and stuff to be more growthful for, and helpful to the consumer.
That's
Do you know what I'm
fantastic.
saying?
I could probably never have thought of that.
It just popped into my head. So it is your deck again, Mr. O, and it is what? Well, it's our deck, so we'll both shuffle. I'll
Yeah, you
shuffle
can go
first. That's
first.
right.
The
So,
Tarot of Oppositions, and we're asking the question,
what other perspectives need to be considered?
and this is the same deck and the same kind of question I used in the original iteration of your Weird Week. And the deck is a lovely deck. I think Banshee regretted afterwards giving it to me, so I wisely decided to make it an official
Before
shared
I would
deck.
spend my money and buy another deck.
Well, this deck is going to hold up for a while because it's pretty stiff. I mean, it's very hard to shuffle for all the
It might
weeks or
get a
months I've
little
been
bit of
using it.
fray, but I agree with him. It's going to be
It's going to hold
hard
up.
for Mr. O to bend them.
And I still haven't totally, and I don't know if we will now, integrate it into regular usage for the shows or other readings because it does have a compelling premise about the idea between reversed and upright cards. And of course, we realize not everybody does that or feels the same way about it. But anyways, here we go. So once again, what other perspectives need to be considered?
It's upright temperance. All right, so this is giving me some perspective here for sure, for shizzle.
And temperance has come up a little bit lately in some of our various card readings.
It's interesting here because I feel, and like he says, to take both sides into consideration, things could go either way here. Maybe, some leaders are going to meet, or, there might be some legislative sessions. I'm wondering if this is more a U.S. issue, but I'm not, totally firm on that, or some negotiations that will involve trying to balance things more. Mr. O, I wonder if there's going to be, it's still a little early, so I'm not going to bank on this, but I wonder if there's going to be some discussions about the debt ceiling in the U.S.
I could see that in the U.S., but for a number of years now, from a worldwide level, as well as coming down here in the last year or two, there's been the whole thing about the austerity movement. And I sort of see the temperance card with its vacillating sides and maybe its liminal area in the middle as the idea that maybe somebody who really would be possibly able to advocate more for the people is able to bring out a better look at an austerity plan that doesn't hurt so many people so much, that doesn't cripple people.
And what's interesting about this one is we've got stay the course, that's gaining nobody anything, everything's drying up here, or go for growth, or we need to find balance, we need to find compromise, we need to find what will pull more people together. All right, so it is my deck, and it is the overall impact with the Healing Light Tarot. So, what is the overall impact we will get out of all of this next week? I hope something good. It's the beginning of the month, and I don't know when they come out with economic indicators and stuff like that in the US. So I'm wondering if we'll be getting some financial breakdowns soon of some things that are going on, too. All right. Oh, boy.
The overall impact is the upright Seven of Swords. Yeah, that is an oh boy moment there, eh?
Don't you think? Because either somebody is trying to hide something, somebody is trying to do some shady business here. It's kind of like the wolves in sheep's clothing. Somebody's trying to pull the wool over people's eyes.
Disaster capitalism.
Well, you can go there.
Oh, everything is so horrible with the world right now. We know how to fix it, but you have to trust us.
Okay, well, I'm not going to totally go there, but I will say that it is definitely something that looks sleight of hand like to me. Like somebody's probably trying to pull a fast one. Like, for example, this just an example. If it were about the debt ceiling, somebody is trying to make some really, well, okay, we'll go along with this, but we want this. We want to take this money, rob Peter to pay Paul, rob Paul to pay Peter, whatever
Well,
the case
another thing
may
is that my understanding, and I'm going to try to be nonpartisan here, is that with all of the money in the Social Security overall trust fund or whatever it is in real no danger of going insolvent. Yet certain times people use this idea, oh, we have to get rid of it because it's going broke anyways, or we have to do severe cuts to it because it's going broke. This is fear mongering.
Well, and the other thing that's really important about this card, as we go to our last one in a minute, is that there's an element of secrecy here.
Yeah.
I feel that people are really trying to keep something under wraps. We need to ferret that out. So, what is the overall impact? We need to find out. We need to get to the bottom of things. Don't accept surface explanations.
Because it is the Healing Light Tarot, do you think that maybe there's a good secret attached to that?
No,
healing secret?
I think not in this case. I can't say I see one.
Okay, I just
Other
had to
than
ask,
if people can ferret it out and bring it to the light of day for what it truly is. A cash grab, whatever it is.
Yeah. And sadly, we saw some of that happen in the age of the vaccines for COVID and things like that.
People were robbing the COVID aid funds and stuff.
Which, to my mind, falls under the disaster capitalism model. Right. At any rate, our card 5, our final card, is what could win the weird? What could win this week? If anything, the possible strategies or outcomes. And for that, I use the Global Fusion Intuitive Tarot.
I take this last position with a grain of salt because sometimes there could be no winners. What could win the weird week? But it might not.
And Banshee, because you're a person of faith, I want you to tap 3 times on the deck. Cut. And we'll see what we have. Bam, Banshee, you have magic in those wrapping fingers.
But what does it mean?
It's the Nine of Cups.
Who gets their wish?
It's the Nine of Cups, which is
somebody wins.
Traditionally a wish card. Whoops. I'm sorry. There we go.
Somebody wins. Somebody gets what they desire. Is it all of us? Do we got a break finally? Or is somebody actually able to manipulate their agenda and get
For
what
that.
they want? That is the question of the weird week, I feel.
Well, sometimes I like to feel that the Nine of Cups is really more about the universal element, the commonality of humankind, mankind, womankind. And of course, we see this beautiful little stained glass window. In some other decks, we see a Nine of Cups that has people leaping as if they're like in the Fool card. That's the Light Seers Tarot. So I want to believe that maybe this weights a little bit towards the best of all, the best for all.
I'm a little bit more cynical.
Usually it's
But
me, eh?
why don't we recap this very
All
quickly
right.
and see where this leaves us, shall we? So, basically, at the beginning, the major theme or focus is that things are stagnating right now. There's no growth. It seems like that's why, to me, too, when I saw the Ace of Pentacles coming up after, I'm feeling that this might have to do with economics. There's a lot of hard times, different places. I think of Britain right now, which is having some food shortages and things going on, and probably other places in the world, too, having commodity issues. Weather has been crazy.
Well, when it comes to things that really affect most people of the world, whether it's the US, our large populations, or the world, there is something that is gumming up the works, that is stagnating things, slowing things down, that is a political non-will to do things.
So, in this backdrop, what we find out is that maybe some new economic plan is in the works, some master plan, maybe, something that affects the global economy or individual economies to counter some of the things that have been happening. So, this might be a situation where this is a reading that will affect different countries differently depending on circumstances. But it looks to me, at least as far as this goes, that there are people out there that are trying to right this situation of a lack of growth.
And I think this is people who have a sense of agency. This isn't one individual with great humanitarian concerns and resources. This is probably some sort of coalition. I do feel that too.
What needs to be considered here with the third card, the temperance card, is the lack of balance. The fact that we need more balance, more fairness, more equity, within the market, within our economies. We need, to elevate people. We need changes between the classes, which are highly out of whack. And I'm not trying to be socialistic here when I say it. Hey, I am liberal. We will say that. But what I will say here is there's a number of inequities and feelings of that maybe need to be addressed. These are the other perspectives that need to be considered.
Right. As I pointed out earlier, almost everywhere in the world, when this kind of stuff happens, governments start saying, we need austerity. We need to make people pay more. And of course, it's never necessarily the people who have the most money. But this may present the idea that maybe somebody will be more, that's what I said, more of an advocate for the people, for an austerity that kind of fits where it needs to.
Well, and maybe this also indicates to me that, this is talking about some of the global supply chain inequities right now, and that maybe governments will be working hard on trying to fill those voids and fill those gaps and get, more product and food on the shelves for people.
Right. I mean, people say, oh, one world government. But you know what? We have 8 billion people in the world, and a large amount of them are not having most of their real human needs being met. So we have to do something.
Well, I still think it's each individual government working individually
True.
on their economic problems. I somehow don't feel I see a necessary meeting here of,
Yeah, like it's,
I feel like this is a little bit more all over the place, and we'll be dealing with our own concerns here. And so, what's that card? Yes, let's go. The
the
overall
Seven
impact.
of Swords.
I feel that, of course, in various parts of the. Do you want to go first? I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead.
various parts of the world, there are bad actors, who are going to try to take advantage of situations. What's in it for me? I'm going to watch out for myself. And, this goes along with everybody, special interest groups. Of course, people on the bottom rung of the scale, of the social scale, they want things done their way. They want things to benefit them. And they maybe want to take some things down that have been very oppressive. Well, the oppressors are not going to stand for that either. So I'm just saying there are people here who are going to try to manipulate their systems to their advantage.
Banshee should know that I am pretty cynical too, despite what I said about the Nine of Cups. With this card, like I said earlier, the idea of disaster capitalism, the idea that people figure out how to make a profit off of situations that are supposed to be helping people.
Mm-hmm.
So we had all this fraud during the COVID early area where groups or businesses were allowed to apply for need that they needed that did not exist, or the problems with vaccination protocols, things like that. People who are unscrupulous find ways to take advantage and suck into the cash flow. So I do see that potential that could happen, and that would be an impact.
And so what could win the weird week? I can tell you right now, there's going to be winners out there. Who exactly? I don't know. It could be the powers in command. It could be this person these people trying to manipulate things, or it could be us. It's possible that maybe, some of our governments will be making some shifts and changes to make life a little easier so that some people will feel more content. I can't rule that out. So maybe the weird week won't be as weird.
Well, to me, the vibe does feel nice, so I sort of agree with that it is likely that at least more people can be helped. I don't think we're ready to arrive at a utopia yet, but I think we could be starting to see some thought towards that.
So we are looking probably this week. We'll see if it happens or something else happens that we missed that fits these cards. But we'll examine this next week, and we're focusing this reading on something happening economically, something maybe happening with supply and demand, right? So we'll see what happens.
So until it's the next weird week,
stay weird. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.